September 26, 1983. One man decides the fate of the planet. His name is Stanislav Petrov. The screen says 5 missiles are inbound. He has minutes to report it, or not. Petrov chose not to report it. He was right. A false alarm. But what if the missile had been real? Today we walk through that other timeline. The one where the button gets pushed. A timeline that almost happened more than once. 9 countries hold the power to end this. 12,000 warheads sit ready today. 6 minutes decide whether any of them get used. This isn't fiction. It's a system running right now. Let's see how close it actually comes to failing. First, understand how a launch order actually works. The US president carries a device called the nuclear football. Inside it, launch codes, verification cards, a menu of strike options. The president has about 6 minutes to decide. 6 minutes, less time than brewing coffee. Once the order goes out, there's no recall. Land-based missiles wait in underground silos. Across the Great Plains of North Dakota and Montana, Minuteman III missiles, built in the 1970s, 3 stages. Solid fuel, always ready. They can reach a target 6,000 miles away in about 30 minutes. Submarines carry a second option. Silent. Almost impossible to find. Ohio-class submarines patrol the ocean depths. Trident missiles fire straight up from beneath the waves. Flight time from a submarine can be 10 minutes. 10 minutes. The entire warning window for a coastal city. A third option waits in the sky. B-52 and B-2 bombers, fueled and armed. Slower, but harder to intercept once airborne. Together, these 3 form the nuclear triad. Redundancy built for one purpose. Making sure retaliation always survives a first strike. 2 officers turn separate keys to launch any silo. Neither can act alone. That's the entire design. Now picture the moment detection actually happens. Satellites catch the heat flash of ignition first. Infrared sensors 22,000 miles above Earth. Ground radar in Alaska and Greenland confirms it seconds later. The data reaches Cheyenne Mountain in Colorado, a bunker carved inside solid granite. Built to survive a direct nuclear hit, officers inside confirm the launch is real. Not a satellite glitch, not a training tape loaded by mistake. 2 independent systems must agree before anyone acts. Redundancy designed to catch a single sensor's mistake. That kind of mistake actually happened once. November 9, 1979. A test scenario tape ran on the live warning system. For 6 minutes, screen showed a full Soviet strike. National Security Advisor Zbigniew Brzezinski was woken up at home, told to expect confirmation of retaliation within minutes. He didn't wake his wife. He wanted her to die in her sleep, not fear. Seconds before the callback, someone caught the error. A canceled false alarm filed away as a footnote. Now imagine that error never gets caught. Imagine the callback goes through instead. Confirmation reaches the president's desk. The clock starts. 6 minutes, no more. This is where our timeline splits. The president gets the real call, confirmed launch. Multiple warheads inbound. He opens the football. He reads the strike menu. Limited response, full response. Counterforce only, counter value. Every second is a second closer to impact. He gives the order. The codes move through a chain of officers. 2 keys turn simultaneously in every silo across 3 states. The silo hatch blows open. The missile clears the ground in seconds, visible from 50 miles away. A column of fire against the sky. 3 stages burn out in under 5 minutes. The warhead separates. It coasts through space in total silence. No engine, no sound, just gravity carrying it toward the target. Re-entry begins at over 15,000 miles per hour. The heat shield glows white. Friction alone could destroy a lesser object. Detonation is set for about 1,500 feet up. An airburst. Wider damage than a ground hit. The city sits below, unaware. The first sign is only light, a flash brighter than the sun, visible for hundreds of miles. Within a mile of ground zero, everything stops existing. Steel beams vaporize in a fraction of a second. The fireball can reach temperatures near the surface of the sun. A shockwave follows, faster than sound. Buildings 3 miles out collapse before residents hear the blast. What about people who survive the initial flash? A firestorm forms next, pulling in oxygen from miles around. Winds inside it exceed 100 miles per hour. It burns everything flammable for miles. Radiation follows next, invisible, silent. Gamma rays kill within seconds at close range. Farther out, radiation sickness sets in over days. Fallout drifts downwind, sometimes hundreds of miles from the target. Farmland becomes unusable. Water sources turn contaminated. Ozone layer damage adds years of increased UV exposure. Ecosystems take decades, not years, to recover. One missile, one city. And this was a single warhead. Real arsenals carry hundreds, not one. The United States holds around 5,000 warheads. Russia holds a similar number. China, the UK, France, India, Pakistan, Israel, North Korea. 9 countries. One decision each away from this outcome. A full exchange between two powers changes something else entirely. Soot from burning cities rises into the upper atmosphere. Scientists Richard Turco and Carl Sagan modeled this in 1983. They called the result nuclear winter. Sunlight drops by up to 70% across the entire northern hemisphere. Temperatures fall below freezing, even in summer. Crops fail across entire continents within one growing season. A 2022 study in Nature Food modeled the aftermath. Over 5 billion people at risk of starvation, not from the blasts themselves, from the famine that follows. Countries that fired zero missiles suffer the worst of it. Distance from the war offers almost no protection. This is the part most people don't expect. The closest the world actually came wasn't 1983. It was October 1962, the Cuban Missile Crisis, 13 days that nearly ended everything. Soviet submarine B-59 sat submerged near a U.S. naval blockade. American ships dropped practice depth charges to force it up. Inside, the crew thought war had already started above them, no radio contact for days. No way to know for sure. The submarine carried a nuclear torpedo. Launch required 3 officers to agree. 2 of them voted yes. One officer, Vasily Arkhipov, refused. His single no is credited with stopping the crisis from turning nuclear. One man's decision the other way, and history changes entirely. The submarine surfaced instead of firing. 60 years later, most people have never heard his name. January 25, 1995. A weather rocket launches from Norway. Its flight path resembles a U.S. submarine-launched missile. Russian radar tracks it as a possible attack. For the first and only confirmed time, the Russian nuclear briefcase activates. President Boris Yeltsin has the football open in front of him. Minutes to decide whether to authorize a response. The rocket veers off, heading out to sea instead. The alert stands down before any order is given. Norway had actually notified Russia about the launch weeks earlier. The notice never reached the right desk. Each incident got quietly declassified only years later. More than 20 serious nuclear false alarms are documented since 1945. A flock of geese mistaken for incoming bombers in 1960. The rising moon mistaken for a massive missile wave. A $46 computer chip failure triggering a false U.S. alert in 1980. Each time, someone chose to wait, to verify, to not press the button. That's the actual system keeping the world intact, not just the technology. The judgment of individual people under enormous pressure, in a window of minutes. So back to our scenario. The order was given. The missile flew. The city fell. What happens to the country that fired second? Its own cities become targets within the same hour. Sirens sound in places that have never heard them for real. People run for shelters that mostly don't exist anymore. Most Cold War fallout shelters were decommissioned decades ago. There is, in most cities, nowhere left to actually go. Within days, both nations lose most of their government infrastructure. Command chains break down. Within weeks, global trade routes for food and fuel collapse. Ports sit empty. Ships stay docked. Within a year, climate effects reach farms across the planet. Countries that fired zero missiles suffer some of the worst famines. Refugee flows overwhelm neighboring countries within months. Diseases once controlled reappear as medical systems collapse. This is the actual cost behind a decision made in 6 minutes. Today's detection relies on satellites called SBIRS, Space-Based Infrared System, watching the planet continuously. They can spot a missile launch within seconds. Hypersonic weapons complicate the picture further. Some travel at more than 5 times the speed of sound. Warning time keeps shrinking even as arsenals stay the same size. Missile defense systems still can't guarantee interception of every warhead. The technology has changed since the Cold War. The decision window hasn't grown any longer. What's changed is how thin the margin for error actually is. Petrov's choice in 1983 wasn't really about one man's courage. It was about a system depending on individual restraint. Petrov died in 2017, largely unrecognized in his own country. He once said he was just doing his job. Nothing more. But that job, done correctly, kept this scenario fictional. Every version of this story where someone hesitates too long ends differently. Arkipov's no in 1962. Petrov's silence in 1983. A canceled callback in 1979. A rocket veering out to sea in 1995. Small, quiet decisions holding back an entire arsenal. None of these people saw themselves as heroes. They just paused long enough to ask if the data was real. That pause is the only thing standing between now and this scenario. So the actual question isn't what if a missile had been launched. It's how many more decisions like these are still waiting to happen. Somewhere tonight, an officer is watching a screen. Somewhere, a system is running a routine check. The margin between routine and catastrophe stays measured in minutes, as it has since 1945, as it still does today.